Now, let's dive into today's story. Chapter 1. The Perfect Life Shattered. Major Spencer Wilder had always believed in absolutes: mission success, unit loyalty, and family protection. At 38, he commanded Delta Force operations with the precision of a surgeon and the ruthlessness of a predator. His marriage to Shannon Holt had been built on what he thought was mutual respect and shared values. For 6 years, he deployed to the world's most dangerous places, always returning to his suburban home in North Carolina, where Shannon waited with their 4-year-old son, Terry. Spencer's world was ordered, controlled, predictable. Every mission had clear objectives, defined enemies, and measurable outcomes. Home was supposed to be his sanctuary, the one place where chaos couldn't reach. That illusion died on a Tuesday morning in Afghanistan. Spencer was reviewing intelligence reports in his command tent when his satellite phone rang. The caller ID showed Cedar Mountain Medical Center, the hospital near his home base. Major Wilder speaking. "Sir, this is Dr. Kristen Lake in the Pediatric Emergency Department. I'm calling about your son, Terry Wilder." Spencer's blood turned to ice. In his world, hospital calls meant casualties, death notifications, the kind of news that destroyed families. "What happened to my son?" "Sir, your wife brought him in suffering from severe hypothermia. His body temperature was dangerously low. We're treating him now, but I need you to understand, this wasn't an accident." The tent seemed to shrink around Spencer. "What do you mean?" "Your son was deliberately placed in a commercial freezer for approximately 2 hours. Sir, someone tried to kill your child." Spencer's hand tightened on the phone until his knuckles went white. "Put my wife on. She's here, but Major Wilder, you should know that." Shannon's voice came through the phone, sharp and angry. "Spencer? Is that you? How the hell did he survive that?" "I thought, never mind. Tell his pathetic soldier father to pay the bills and stop calling. We're busy here." The line went dead. Spencer stared at the phone, his mind struggling to process what he'd just heard. Shannon's words echoed in his head. How the hell did he survive that? Not relief that Terry was alive, not concern for his condition, disappointment that he'd survived. His commanding officer, Colonel Glenn Salazar, approached cautiously. "Spencer? What's going on? I need emergency leave. Now. Son, we're 48 hours from a major operation." Spencer turned, and Colonel Salazar stepped back involuntarily. He'd seen that look before, in soldiers who'd crossed a line they could never uncross. "Glenn, my 4-year-old son is in the hospital because someone put him in a freezer. My wife just expressed disappointment that he survived. I need emergency leave, and I need it now." Colonel Salazar nodded immediately. "Transport's yours. What do you need?" Spencer was already packing his gear, his mind shifting into operational mode. "Everything you can dig up on Shannon Holt Wilder. Her activities, associates, financial records, communications. I want to know who she's been talking to and what she's been doing." "Spencer, whatever you're thinking." "I'm not thinking anything yet, Glenn. But when I start thinking, someone's going to wish they'd never been born." As Spencer boarded the transport helicopter, he pulled out his phone and made a call to his old team member, Dominic Bruce, now working private investigation. "Dom, it's Spencer. I need you to get to Cedar Mountain Medical Center. My son's there. Guard him with your life." "What's the situation?" "War, Dom. Someone tried to kill my son, and I'm coming home to find out who." Spencer stared out at the Afghan desert falling away beneath him. For 6 years, he'd fought America's enemies overseas. Now he was about to discover that his worst enemy had been living in his own home, sleeping in his bed, raising his child. The flight home would take 18 hours. 18 hours to plan, to think, to prepare for a war that would make his military operations look like training exercises. Someone had tried to murder his 4-year-old son. Someone had turned his wife against their own child. Someone was about to learn what happened when you declared war on a Delta Force operator's family. Spencer Wilder was coming home, and he was bringing hell with him. Chapter 2. The investigation begins. Spencer arrived at Cedar Mountain Medical Center at 0200 hours, still wearing his desert combat fatigues. The hospital's sterile corridors felt alien after months in war zones, but the controlled chaos was familiar. He'd seen enough field hospitals to recognize the rhythm of medical crisis. Dr. Kristen Lake met him at the pediatric ward, a professional woman in her 40s with tired eyes that held too much experience with child abuse cases. "Major Wilder, your son is stable now, but it was close. Another 30 minutes, and we would have lost him. Spencer's jaw tightened. I want to see him. Of course. But first, I need you to understand what we're dealing with. Terry was found in a commercial freezer at a restaurant downtown. The police are calling it attempted murder. Spencer followed Dr. Lake down the corridor, his military bearing drawing stares from hospital staff. What restaurant? The Blue Moon Diner on Maple Street. Your wife claims she was having lunch there with a friend, and that Terry wandered off. She says she found him in the freezer and immediately brought him here. Spencer filed away every detail. Blue Moon Diner. Maple Street. Shannon's story already had holes he could drive a truck through. Terry looked impossibly small in the hospital bed, connected to warming blankets and monitoring equipment. His 4-year-old face was pale, his breathing shallow but steady. Spencer sat beside the bed and took his son's small hand in his battle-scarred fingers. Hey, buddy. Daddy's here. Terry's eyes fluttered open. Daddy? You came back. I'll always come back for you, son. Always. I was cold, Daddy. Really, really cold. Spencer's voice remained gentle, but his eyes went hard as winter steel. I know, buddy. But you're safe now. Daddy's going to make sure nothing bad ever happens to you again. A knock at the door interrupted them. Detective Dominic Bruce entered, not the private investigator Spencer had called, but a police detective who happened to share the name. He was a big man with graying hair and the weathered look of someone who'd seen too much human cruelty. Major Wilder? I'm Detective Bruce. I'm investigating what happened to your son. Spencer stood, instinctively positioning himself between the detective and Terry. What have you found? That's what I wanted to discuss with you. Your wife's story doesn't add up. The freezer Terry was found in requires a key to open from the outside. It's not the kind of place a 4-year-old just wanders into. You're saying someone put him there deliberately. I'm saying that's the only logical explanation. The question is who and why. Spencer's mind was already working through possibilities. Where's my wife now? That's complicated. She left the hospital about an hour after bringing Terry in. Said she had things to handle at home. She left her 4-year-old son who nearly died. Detective Bruce's expression darkened. Major, I've been working child abuse cases for 15 years. I've never seen a mother react the way your wife did. No tears, no concern, no questions about Terry's condition. She was more worried about the hospital bill than her son's life. Spencer absorbed this information with the detached analysis he'd learned in intelligence briefings. Shannon's behavior wasn't that of a concerned mother. It was that of someone covering up a crime. Detective, I want to cooperate fully with your investigation, but I also want to conduct my own inquiry. Major, I understand you're angry, but this is a police matter now. Spencer met the detective's eyes. My son was nearly murdered. My wife's behavior suggests she was involved. I've spent the last 6 years hunting terrorists overseas. Now I'm going to hunt whoever did this. Detective Bruce studied Spencer's face and nodded slowly. Just keep it legal, Major. After the detective left, Spencer made a call to the real Dominic Bruce, his old team member. Dom, where are you? Hospital parking garage. I've been watching the entrances. No sign of your wife, but there's something you need to know. Talk to me. I ran preliminary surveillance on your house. Shannon's not alone. There's a man there, mid-30s, athletic build, expensive car. They're not acting like casual friends. Spencer's suspicions crystallized into certainty. Shannon was having an affair. But this wasn't just about infidelity. This was about attempted murder of his child. Dom, I need you to maintain surveillance. Full documentation. Photos, video, audio if possible. I want to know everything about this man. Copy that. Spencer, what are you thinking? Spencer looked at his sleeping son, hooked to machines that had saved his life. I'm thinking someone made the biggest mistake of their very short life. Spencer spent the night at Terry's bedside, watching his son sleep and planning. By morning, he had the framework of an operation that would systematically destroy everyone who had betrayed his family. The war was about to begin. Chapter 3, The Enemy Revealed. Spencer left the hospital at 0600 after ensuring Terry was under round-the-clock protection. Dominic Bruce had arranged for 2 former Special Forces operators to guard his son, men who understood that failure wasn't an option. The drive to his house took 20 minutes through suburbs that looked exactly as he'd left them 6 months ago. Perfectly manicured lawns, white picket fences, the American dream made manifest. But Spencer now knew that dreams could become nightmares, and home could harbor enemies more dangerous than any foreign battlefield. He parked 3 blocks away and approached on foot, using skills honed through countless reconnaissance missions. His house, a 2-story colonial with blue shutters that Shannon had picked out, looked peaceful in the morning light. But Spencer could see what civilians would miss: the second car in the driveway, the closed curtains in the master bedroom, the subtle signs that his home had been invaded. Dominic Bruce met him behind the neighbor's garden shed, tablet in hand with surveillance footage. "His name is Wade Hahn," Dom reported. 34 years old, owns a chain of restaurants including the Blue Moon Diner where Terry was found. He's been here every night for the past week. Spencer studied the photos of Wade Hahn, a tall man with dark hair, expensive clothes, and the confident bearing of someone who'd never faced real consequences. Restaurant owner. That explains access to the commercial freezer. There's more. I intercepted some of their conversations through the window bugs I planted. Spencer, they're not just having an affair. They're planning to get rid of you permanently. Spencer's expression didn't change, but Dom had served with him long enough to recognize the deadly calm that preceded extreme violence. "Show me." Dom played an audio recording through earbuds. Shannon's voice was clear. "Once Spencer's deployment ends, we'll have to deal with him. He'll never just let this go quietly." Wade's response was chilling. "Don't worry about your husband. I've handled problems like him before. Military types are all the same. Predictable, rule-following, weak when it comes to family." "What about Terry?" "The kid's already proved he's tougher to kill than expected. But accidents happen all the time to children whose fathers are deployed overseas." Spencer removed the earbuds and stared at his house. His wife and her lover weren't just cheating. They were planning to murder both him and his son. "Dom, what else do we know about Wade Hahn?" "Restaurant business is legitimate, but there are rumors about other activities. Underground gambling, loan sharking, some connections to organized crime. Nothing proven, but the kind of man who solves problems with violence." Family. Divorced, no kids. His ex-wife lives in California, remarried and changed her name. "I'm still digging, but it looks like she ran from him." Spencer nodded grimly. Wade Hahn was a predator who had targeted Shannon, turned her against her own child, and was now planning to eliminate the obstacles to his conquest. But he'd made one critical error. He'd underestimated his opponent. "Dom, I need complete surveillance on both of them. Everywhere they go, everyone they talk to, everything they do. I also need background on Shannon's activities over the past year. Bank records, phone logs, travel history. Already working on it." "Spencer, what's the plan?" Spencer looked at his house one more time, memorizing every detail. This had been his sanctuary, the place he'd dreamed about during long deployments, the foundation of everything he'd fought to protect. Now it was enemy territory. The plan is to destroy them so completely that they'll beg for mercy before the end. But first, I need to understand exactly what we're dealing with. Spencer made another call, this time to his military contact in intelligence, Colonel Salazar. "Glenn, I need a favor. Deep background check on Wade Hahn, restaurant owner in North Carolina. I want everything: finances, associates, criminal history, psychological profile." "Spencer, you're on emergency leave, not an active operation. My son was nearly murdered by this man. My wife is conspiring with him to kill me. This is the most active operation of my life." Colonel Salazar was quiet for a moment. "I'll have the intel team run a full workup. But Spencer, whatever you're planning." "I'm not planning anything yet, Glenn. But when I do start planning, Wade Hahn is going to wish he'd never been born." As Spencer drove away from his former home, he felt the familiar calm that came with the beginning of a new mission. The reconnaissance phase was complete. He knew his enemies, understood their capabilities and intentions, and had identified their weaknesses. Phase 2 would be infiltration and intelligence gathering. Phase 3 would be the systematic destruction of everyone who had betrayed his family. Wade Hahn thought he was dealing with a predictable military husband. Shannon thought she could manipulate and discard the father of her child. They were both about to discover what happened when you declared war on a Delta Force operator who had nothing left to lose. Chapter 4. The Infiltration. Spencer established his command post in a furnished apartment across town, using cash and false identification, skills that came naturally after years of black operations. The apartment was sparse but functional. Computers, surveillance equipment, communication gear, and detailed files on his targets. The intelligence from Colonel Salazar painted a disturbing picture of Wade Hahn. The restaurant chain was profitable, but it was also a front for money laundering operations connected to East Coast organized crime. Wade had been investigated twice for racketeering, but never charged, protected by expensive lawyers and strategic political donations. More importantly, Wade had a pattern. 3 previous relationships with married women, all ending with the women's husbands dying in apparent accidents. A construction worker who fell from scaffolding. A trucker whose brakes failed on a mountain highway. A police officer who suffered a heart attack during a routine traffic stop. Spencer studied the files with professional detachment. Wade Hahn wasn't just a restaurant owner having an affair. He was a serial killer who specialized in eliminating inconvenient husbands. His phone buzzed. Dominic Bruce. Spencer, we have movement. Shannon and Wade just left for the Blue Moon Diner. They're having what looks like a planning session. I'm on my way. Spencer arrived at the diner 20 minutes later, parking where he could observe the entrance. The Blue Moon was a typical small-town restaurant. Red vinyl booths, checkered floors, the kind of place where locals gathered for coffee and gossip. It was also where his son had nearly died. Through the windows, Spencer could see Shannon and Wade in a corner booth, heads close together in intense conversation. Shannon looked different, harder somehow, her posture more aggressive. The woman he'd married had been soft-spoken and gentle. This person was a stranger. Spencer's earpiece crackled. Dom's voice, audio feed is active. They're discussing timeline. Spencer listened as Wade's voice came through clearly. Your husband will be back from deployment in 2 weeks. We need to move before then. What about Terry? Shannon's voice held no maternal concern, only cold calculation. The kid's in the hospital, guarded like Fort Knox. But hospitals have accidents all the time. Gas leaks, electrical fires, equipment failures. And Spencer? Leave your husband to me. I've got friends who specialize in making military heroes disappear. Car accidents, muggings gone wrong, PTSD-related suicides. The possibilities are endless. Spencer's grip tightened on the steering wheel. They weren't just planning murder. They were planning to make it look like he'd killed himself, probably after suffering a breakdown over Terry's accidental death. When? Shannon asked. Tonight for the kid. Tomorrow for Spencer. By next week, you'll be a grieving widow with a tragic backstory and full access to Spencer's military life insurance. Spencer had heard enough. He keyed his radio. Dom, prepare for immediate extraction. Phase 2 is complete. As Spencer drove away from the diner, his mind was already working through the tactical situation. Wade and Shannon planned to move tonight, which meant Spencer had less than 12 hours to implement his own plan. He made a series of calls. First, to the hospital security team watching Terry, increasing protection and medical monitoring. Second, to Colonel Salazar, requesting immediate backup from his old unit. Third, to a contact in the FBI's Organized Crime Task Force. But Spencer's most important call was to Detective Bruce. Detective, this is Major Wilder. I have intelligence that Wade Hahn and my wife are planning to murder my son tonight and me tomorrow. Major, do you have evidence? Audio recordings of them discussing methods and timeline. I'm sending you the files now. Spencer transmitted the surveillance recordings to Detective Bruce's secure email. Within minutes, his phone rang back. Jesus Christ, Major. This is a detailed murder conspiracy. I can have them both arrested within the hour. No, Spencer said quietly. Don't arrest them yet. What? Why not? Because arrest means lawyers, bail, plea bargains. It means they might walk away with light sentences or technicality dismissals. Detective, these people tried to kill my 4-year-old son and are planning to kill us both. I want justice, not legal technicalities. Major, what are you suggesting? Spencer stared out his apartment window at the city where he'd thought he was building a safe life for his family. I'm suggesting we let them make their move. Under controlled circumstances, with full surveillance and protection for Terry. Let them commit to their crimes so completely that there's no possibility of escape. That's incredibly dangerous. Detective, I've spent 6 years in the world's most dangerous places. Dangerous is my specialty. As evening approached, Spencer prepared for the most important mission of his life. Not to capture enemy territory or eliminate foreign threats, but to protect his son and destroy the predators who had invaded his home. Wade Hahn thought he was about to eliminate another inconvenient husband. Shannon thought she was about to become a wealthy widow. They were both about to discover that they'd chosen the wrong family to destroy. Chapter 5, The Trap Springs. Spencer positioned himself in the hospital parking garage at 2,100 hours, surrounded by an invisible network of protection and surveillance. Detective Bruce had reluctantly agreed to the plan. Let Wade and Shannon attempt their murder plot while recording everything for airtight prosecution. Terry's hospital room was now a fortress disguised as a medical facility. Former Special Forces operators posed as orderlies and security guards. Hidden cameras captured every angle. Detective Bruce monitored from a surveillance van parked across the street. Spencer's earpiece crackled. Movement. Two figures approaching the hospital's service entrance. Through night vision binoculars, Spencer watched Wade Hahn and Shannon enter the building using what appeared to be stolen maintenance credentials. They moved with the confidence of people who believed they were invisible, untouchable. They're heading for the third floor. Dom reported from his position in the stairwell. Wade's carrying a briefcase. Spencer's blood chilled. A briefcase could contain anything from poison to explosives. These weren't opportunistic killers. They were methodical, prepared, professional. Detective Bruce's voice crackled through the radio. All units, suspects are in position. Remember, we need them to commit to the act before we move. Spencer watched the hospital's third-floor windows, knowing his son was somewhere behind those walls, protected but still vulnerable. Every instinct screamed at him to storm the building, to eliminate the threats with immediate violence. But the tactical situation required patience, precision. Contact. Dom's voice was tense. They're at Terry's room. Wade's opening the briefcase. Spencer's earpiece filled with audio from the room's hidden microphones. Shannon's voice. Make it quick. I don't want him to suffer. Wade's response was coldly professional. Gas mask first, then open the canister. Carbon monoxide. It'll look like a heating system malfunction. The kid will just go to sleep. Spencer's vision went red. They were planning to gas his 4-year-old son while he slept. All units, move now, Detective Bruce commanded. Spencer was already moving, taking the stairs 3 at a time. Behind him, police units swarmed the hospital. Ahead of him, the woman he'd married for better or worse was helping a serial killer murder their child. Spencer reached Terry's floor as tactical officers surrounded Wade and Shannon. Through the room's window, he could see Wade holding a small canister while Shannon stood watch. Neither had noticed that the sleeping child in the bed was actually a sophisticated mannequin, and that the real Terry was safely hidden in a secure location. Detective Bruce's voice boomed through the corridor. Police, drop your weapons and put your hands in the air. Wade spun toward the door, still holding the gas canister. Shannon's face went white as she realized they'd walked into a trap. You son of a bitch, Wade snarled, looking directly at Spencer through the window. You were supposed to be overseas. Spencer entered the room with deadly calm. Hello, Shannon. Wait. Shannon backed against the wall, her face a mask of terror and rage. Spencer, you don't understand. I understand perfectly. You found yourself a new boyfriend, decided your son and husband were inconvenient, and planned to murder us both for insurance money. Wade stepped forward aggressively. Your wife came to me, soldier boy. She was tired of being married to a... Spencer moved faster than Wade could process. One moment Wade was talking. The next he was on the floor with Spencer's boot on his throat and the gas canister crushed under Spencer's heel. You put my 4-year-old son in a freezer, Spencer said quietly. You planned to gas him while he slept. You turned his mother against him. Spencer, please, Shannon pleaded. It wasn't supposed to happen like this. Wade said. Spencer turned to look at his wife. Really look at her. For the first time since coming home. The woman he'd married was gone, replaced by something hollow and cruel. You chose him over our son. You participated in planning Terry's murder. There's nothing left to say. Detective Bruce stepped forward. Shannon Holt Wilder, Wade Hahn, you're under arrest for conspiracy to commit murder, attempted murder, and child endangerment. As the handcuffs clicked into place, Wade looked at Spencer with pure hatred. This isn't over, soldier boy. I have friends, connections. I'll be out in 6 months. Spencer's smile was colder than the Arctic wind. Wade, you have no idea what you've started. Shannon was crying now, the reality of her situation finally penetrating. Spencer, please. I'm still Terry's mother. I still love him. Spencer looked at the woman who had carried his child, shared his bed, promised to honor and protect their family. No, Shannon. You were Terry's mother. Now you're just another enemy who threatened my son. As they led Shannon and Wade away, Detective Bruce approached Spencer. That was good police work, Major. Clean arrests, solid evidence, airtight cases. Spencer watched the police cars disappear into the night. Detective, the arrests were just the beginning. What do you mean? Spencer turned to face the detective, and Bruce saw something in the military man's eyes that made him step back involuntarily. Wade said he has friends and connections. People who help him eliminate inconvenient husbands. I'm going to find every single one of them. Spencer, they're in custody now. Let the legal system handle this. Spencer shook his head. The legal system will give them lawyers, plea bargains, reduced sentences. Shannon might serve 5 years. Wade might serve 10. They'll be out while Terry's still a child. So what are you suggesting? Spencer looked up at the hospital room where his son should have been sleeping safely, protected by his mother's love instead of targeted by her hatred. I'm suggesting that some debts can only be paid in blood. Chapter 6. The Network Exposed. 3 days after the arrests, Spencer sat in the district attorney's office listening to information that made his blood boil. ADA Cassandra Hogan, a sharp woman in her 40s with steel gray hair and calculating eyes, spread files across her desk. Major Wilder, I'll be direct. We have strong cases against both your wife and Wade Hahn, but there are complications. Spencer's expression remained neutral. What kind of complications? Wade's lawyer is claiming his client was coerced by your wife. Shannon's lawyer is claiming she was psychologically manipulated by an abusive boyfriend. Both are angling for reduced charges. And Wade's legal team has significant resources. They're already filing motions to suppress evidence, claiming illegal surveillance and entrapment. There's a real possibility he could walk away with time served in probation. Spencer absorbed this information with military precision. What about the conspiracy to murder my son? That's where it gets complicated. Wade's lawyer is arguing that the gas canister contained a harmless substance, that it was an elaborate scheme to frighten you rather than actually kill Terry. Without successful completion of the murder, it becomes conspiracy with intent, not attempted murder. So the man who put my 4-year-old son in a freezer, who planned to gas him in his hospital bed, might serve less time than a car thief? ADA Hogan nodded grimly. The legal system isn't always about justice, Major. Sometimes it's about what can be proven beyond reasonable doubt. Spencer stood to leave. Thank you for your honesty, Miss Hogan. Major, where are you going? Spencer paused at the door. To ensure justice is served, one way or another. Back at his apartment, Spencer found Dominic Bruce waiting with a thick folder of intelligence reports. Spencer, you need to see this. Wade Hahn's network is bigger than we thought. Spencer opened the folder to find photographs, financial records, and surveillance reports detailing an extensive criminal organization. Wade wasn't just a restaurant owner who killed inconvenient husbands. He was part of a systematic operation that targeted military families. Look at this pattern. Dom pointed to a map with red pins marking locations across 3 states. 12 military wives, all married to deployed servicemen, all who died in accidents after their husbands suffered mysterious deaths. Spencer studied the files with growing rage. Each case followed the same template. The military husband deployed overseas. The wife begins an affair with one of Wade's associates. The husband returns to find his family destroyed, then dies in an apparent accident or suicide. They're hunting us, Spencer said quietly, systematically targeting military families for insurance money and asset theft. There's more. The organization has connections to a corrupt veterans counselor who helps manufacture PTSD diagnoses, making the eventual suicides more believable. Spencer found the counselor's file, Dr. Matthew Wolfe, a VA psychiatrist with questionable credentials and a suspiciously high rate of patients who died by suicide after returning from deployment. How many families have they destroyed? At least 20 that we can document. Probably more. Spencer closed the files and walked to his window overlooking the city. Somewhere out there, Wade Hahn's criminal network was continuing to operate, targeting other military families, destroying other children's lives. His phone rang. ADA Hogan. Major Wilder, I have news. Wade Hahn posted bail an hour ago. Spencer's grip tightened on the phone. How is that possible? His lawyers argued that he posed no flight risk and that the evidence was circumstantial. The judge set bail at $2 million. Wade's associates posted it immediately. And Shannon, still in custody. Her bail hearing is tomorrow, but without Wade's resources, She'll likely remain incarcerated pending trial. Spencer hung up and turned to Dom. Wade's out. His network is operational. The legal system has failed. What's the plan? Spencer stared at the files documenting years of murdered servicemen and destroyed families. The legal system was designed to protect the innocent, but it also protected predators who knew how to manipulate the rules. The plan is to do what the courts can't do. We're going to dismantle Wade's entire network, one piece at a time. Spencer, that's war, Dom. They declared war on military families, on children, on everything we swore to protect. Now they get to see what happens when professional soldiers fight back. Spencer began spreading maps and photographs across his apartment floor, marking locations and connections like a military campaign briefing. Wade thinks posting bail means he's won. His network thinks they're untouchable. They're about to learn the difference between civilian justice and military justice. Dom studied his old commanding officer's face. How far are you willing to go? Spencer looked at a photograph of his son, pale and small in his hospital bed, machines keeping him alive after Wade's first murder attempt. All the way, Dom. Every single one of them. As night fell over the city, Spencer began planning an operation that would systematically destroy every person who had participated in targeting military families. Wade Hahn had escaped civilian justice, but he was about to face something far more final. The hunter was about to become the hunted. Chapter 7. The hunt begins. Wade Hahn celebrated his freedom at his flagship restaurant, surrounded by associates who congratulated him on beating the system. Through surveillance cameras positioned throughout the Blue Moon Diner, Spencer watched his target enjoy expensive whiskey and laugh about another close call. Spencer had spent 48 hours studying every member of Wade's network. Dr. Matthew Wolfe, the corrupt VA psychiatrist. Rich Bullock, the insurance investigator who helped expedite claim payments. Terrence Marr, the private investigator who stalked military families. Each man had participated in destroying families and murdering servicemen. The operation would begin with psychological warfare, then escalate to direct action. Spencer's first target was Dr. Wolfe. At 0300 hours, Spencer entered the psychiatrist's home office using skills perfected in hostile territory. Dr. Wolfe's files contained detailed records of his collaboration with Wade's network, falsified PTSD diagnoses, fabricated psychological evaluations, and correspondence planning the elimination of specific servicemen. Spencer photographed everything, then left the files arranged on Dr. Wolfe's desk with a simple note. You have 24 hours to confess your crimes to the authorities, or I will ensure justice is served permanently. A concerned veteran. Spencer's second target was Rich Bullock, the insurance investigator. Spencer followed Bullock to his morning jog through Riverside Park, then intercepted him at the halfway point. Mr. Bullock? Bullock turned, seeing a fit man in running gear who looked like any other morning jogger. Yes. I represent some military families whose husbands died under suspicious circumstances. We'd like to ask you some questions about expedited insurance claims. Bullock's face went pale. I don't know what you're talking about. Spencer smiled coldly. We have recordings of your conversations with Wade Hahn. We know about the families you've helped destroy. You have a choice. Cooperate with authorities or face the consequences. Are you threatening me? I'm offering you an opportunity to survive what's coming. Spencer jogged away, leaving Bullock standing alone in the park, suddenly aware that his morning run might be his last. By afternoon, both Dr. Wolfe and Rich Bullock had contacted police, confessing their involvement in Wade's criminal network and providing evidence in exchange for protection. Detective Bruce called Spencer with an update. Two of Wade's associates just turned themselves in with detailed confessions. They're terrified, claiming someone threatened them. Interesting. What kind of evidence did they provide? Enough to connect Wade to at least 8 murders of military personnel. Financial records, communications, documentation of the entire operation. Spencer felt a cold satisfaction. And Wade, we're issuing new arrest warrants based on the confessions. But Spencer, Wade's disappeared. His restaurant is closed, his house is empty, and his known associates have scattered. Spencer had expected this. Predators like Wade had survival instincts honed by years of evading consequences. Detective, Wade won't run far. Men like him can't resist their hunting grounds. That evening, Spencer visited Terry at the secure location where his son was recovering under medical supervision. Terry looked stronger, the color returning to his face, but the trauma was still visible in his eyes. Daddy, when can I go to my real home? Spencer sat beside his son, carefully choosing his words. Buddy, we're going to have a new home. Somewhere safe, where bad people can't find us. What about Mommy? Spencer felt his heart break a little more. Mommy made some very bad choices, son. She's not going to be living with us anymore. Terry nodded solemnly, processing this with the resilience of childhood. Is the bad man gone too? The bad man won't ever hurt you again. Daddy promises. As Spencer tucked Terry into bed, his phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. You think you're smart, soldier boy? You destroyed my network, but you can't hide forever. I know where you live, where your son sleeps, where you're vulnerable. This isn't over. W. Spencer stared at the message, then typed back. You're right. It's not over. It's just beginning. Wade Hahn thought he could threaten Spencer's son and escape consequences by running. He was about to learn the most dangerous lesson of his life. When you threaten a Delta Force operator's child, geography becomes irrelevant. Spencer made a call to Colonel Salazar. Glenn, I need a favor. Unofficial, off the books. Spencer, what are you planning? Wade Hahn just threatened my son again. He's running, but I'm going to find him. Son, let the authorities handle this. Spencer looked at his sleeping child, remembering the machines that had kept Terry alive after Wade's first murder attempt. The authorities had their chance, Glenn. Now it's my turn. Spencer began planning a hunting operation that would track Wade Hahn across multiple states, if necessary. Wade had spent years hunting military families, destroying children's lives, murdering servicemen. Now he was about to discover what it felt like to be prey. Chapter 8. The Final Hunt. Wade Hahn had retreated to a compound in rural Virginia, surrounded by the remnants of his criminal network. Through satellite surveillance arranged by Colonel Salazar, Spencer tracked Wade to an isolated property that served as both fortress and final stand. The compound was well defended. Armed guards, security cameras, and defensive positions that showed Wade understood he was now the hunted rather than the hunter. But Wade had made a critical error. He'd chosen to make his stand in terrain that favored Spencer's specialized skill set. Spencer spent 3 days conducting reconnaissance, mapping every approach, cataloging every defender, and identifying structural weaknesses. The compound held 12 men, including Wade, all armed and prepared for siege warfare. Detective Bruce arrived at Spencer's temporary base camp with disturbing news. Spencer, we found something in Wade's restaurant records. He's been targeting military families for 3 years, but there's a pattern we missed. Spencer studied the new files Detective Bruce provided. What kind of pattern? He's been specifically targeting Delta Force families. Your unit, Spencer. Wade has detailed files on every married operator in your company, including deployment schedules, family addresses, and personal information. Spencer's blood turned to ice. How many families are at risk? At least 15 active targets. He's been planning a systematic elimination of your entire unit's families. Spencer realized the true scope of Wade's operation. This wasn't random crime. It was targeted warfare against America's most elite military units, designed to psychologically destroy the operators by murdering their families. Detective, I need you to contact my unit immediately. Full protection details for every family. Already done. But Spencer, there's more. We intercepted communications from the compound. Wade's not planning to run again. He's planning to make a final statement. What kind of statement? Detective Bruce's face was grave. He's threatening to live stream the execution of captured family members unless you surrender yourself to him. Spencer's world narrowed to a single point of focus. Wade had escalated beyond individual revenge to mass terrorism against military families. How many hostages does he have? 3 families. 9 people total, including 4 children. Spencer stared at the compound through binoculars, seeing it now not as Wade's fortress, but as a prison holding innocent families. The tactical situation had changed completely. Spencer made a secure call to his old Delta Force team. Within 2 hours, Dominic Bruce, Glenn Salazar, and 4 other operators had arrived at his position. Gentlemen, Spencer briefed his team with military precision. We have a terrorist compound holding military families hostage. Rules of engagement are clear. Protect the innocent, eliminate the threats. Glenn Salazar studied the compound layout. Spencer, this isn't Afghanistan. We can't just assault a compound on American soil. Glenn, Wade Hahn has declared war on our families. He's holding children hostage and threatening to execute them on camera. The legal system has failed. This is now a rescue operation. Detective Bruce approached cautiously. Major, I can't officially sanction this operation. Spencer looked at his old team, men who had followed him through the world's most dangerous missions. Gentlemen, I'm not asking you to break the law. I'm asking you to save military families from a terrorist who has already murdered our brothers. The compound assault began at 0300 hours with Spencer's team moving like ghosts through the Virginia woods. Years of combat experience had taught them to operate as a single organism, each man knowing his role without communication. Spencer breached the main building while his team secured the perimeter and hostage locations. Inside, he found Wade Hahn waiting in what had once been a family living room, now converted into a command center with multiple screens showing surveillance feeds. Spencer Wilder, Wade smiled coldly. The famous Delta Force operator. You're too late. The families are already dead. Spencer's expression never changed. Show me the bodies. Wade's confidence faltered slightly. What? If you've killed them, show me the bodies. If you haven't, release them now and face me alone. Wade raised a pistol, but Spencer was already moving. Years of close-quarters combat training made the confrontation brutally short. Wade's weapon fired once, harmlessly, before Spencer's knife found his throat. As Wade collapsed, Spencer keyed his radio. Status report. All hostages secured, came Dom's voice. Families are safe. Compound is clear. Spencer knelt beside Wade, who was dying slowly from the precisely placed wound. You targeted children, Wade. You tried to murder my son. You threatened military families. Wade's eyes were filled with terror as his life ebbed away. Please, I was just following orders. Whose orders? Wade's final words were barely a whisper. Ask Dr. Wolf about the senator. Spencer sat back as Wade Hahn died, processing this final revelation. The criminal network wasn't just targeting military families for money. It was part of a larger conspiracy involving political figures. Detective Bruce arrived as Spencer's team was evacuating the rescued families. Spencer, what happened here? Wade Hahn resisted arrest during a hostage rescue operation. His associates surrendered when they realized the situation was hopeless. Detective Bruce surveyed the compound, seeing the evidence of a precisely executed military operation disguised as a law enforcement action. And the hostages? Safe. They'll need medical attention and counseling, but they're alive. As the rescued families were loaded into ambulances, Spencer felt a hollow satisfaction. Wade Hahn was dead, his network destroyed, the immediate threat eliminated. But Wade's dying words suggested this was only the beginning of a larger conspiracy against military families. Spencer made a mental note to investigate Dr. Wolf's connection to the senator once Terry was fully recovered and safe. The hunt for Wade Hahn was over, but the war against those who targeted military families was just beginning. Chapter 9, Blood Debt Paid in Full. 2 weeks later, Spencer sat in the visiting room at Cedar Mountain Correctional Facility, facing Shannon across a steel table. She looked smaller in her orange jumpsuit, older, diminished by the reality of her choices. Spencer, Shannon's voice was barely a whisper. I heard about Wade. About what happened at the compound. Spencer studied the woman who had been his wife, the mother of his child, the person he'd trusted above all others. What did you hear? That he's dead. That you killed him. Spencer's expression remained neutral. Wade Hahn died resisting arrest during a hostage rescue operation. The official report will be filed accordingly. Shannon's eyes filled with tears. I never wanted it to go this far. I never wanted Terry to get hurt. But you did want me dead. You participated in planning our son's murder. Shannon flinched as if struck. I was confused, manipulated. Wade made me believe. Wade made you believe what you wanted to believe. That Terry and I were obstacles to your happiness. Spencer leaned forward slightly. Shannon, do you know what Wade's last words were? She shook her head. He begged for mercy. The man who put our 4-year-old son in a freezer, who planned to gas him in his hospital bed, who murdered at least 8 servicemen. He died begging for mercy. Shannon's tears flowed freely now. Spencer, I know I can never make this right, but you're correct. You can never make this right. Spencer stood to leave, then paused. Shannon, you'll serve 25 years without possibility of parole. Terry will be 29 when you get out. He won't remember you as his mother. He'll remember you as the woman who tried to kill him. Spencer, please. Goodbye, Shannon. Spencer walked away without looking back. In the parking lot, Detective Bruce was waiting with final paperwork. The case is officially closed, Detective Bruce reported. Wade's entire network has been dismantled. Dr. Wolf received life in prison. Rich Bullock is cooperating fully in exchange for a reduced sentence. And the senator connection? Still investigating, but it appears Wade was exaggerating about political involvement, probably trying to seem more important than he was. Spencer nodded, though privately he intended to continue investigating that connection. Men like Wade didn't operate in a vacuum. An hour later, Spencer arrived at the secure facility where Terry was completing his recovery. His son ran to him with the boundless energy of childhood resilience. "Daddy, the doctors say I can go home tomorrow." Spencer knelt to hug his son. "That's right, buddy. We're going to our new home. Will it be safe there?" Spencer looked into Terry's eyes, seeing trust and hope despite everything the boy had endured. "It will be the safest place in the world, son. I promise." That evening, as Terry slept in his new bedroom in their new house in a new city, Spencer sat on the porch reviewing files from his investigation. Wade Hahn was dead, his network destroyed, but the damage he'd caused would ripple through families for years. Spencer's phone buzzed with a secure message from Colonel Salazar. "New intelligence on anti-military domestic terrorism. Your expertise needed." Interested, Spencer looked through the window at his sleeping son, then typed back, "Send me the files." Some wars never truly ended. They just evolved, requiring different tactics and new battlefields. Wade Hahn had been one predator in a larger ecosystem of those who targeted military families. Spencer would hunt them all. Terry stirred in his sleep, and Spencer quietly checked on his son. The boy looked peaceful, safe, protected. This was what Spencer fought for, not victory on foreign battlefields, but the quiet security of a child sleeping safely in his own bed. Wade Hahn had declared war on Spencer's family, believing that military men were predictable, rule-following, weak when it came to protecting their loved ones. He'd been wrong about everything. Spencer Wilder was not predictable. He did not always follow rules. And when it came to protecting his son, he was absolutely ruthless. The debt had been paid in full, in blood, as some debts must be. Spencer returned to his porch, opened the new intelligence files, and began planning his next hunt. Somewhere out there, other predators were targeting military families, believing themselves safe from consequences. They were about to learn otherwise. The war never ended. It just found new enemies. And Spencer Wilder was very, very good at war.